Hi there. During this lesson, we will familiarize ourselves with the basic concepts and terms in the Python language. First, I suggest discussing comments. Comments are an important part of code because they allow you to describe a block of code that you or other developers will quickly understand what is happening in a specific part of your program. To create a comment, you use the hash symbol. After the symbol, you can write anything you want because all the text you write will be considered comments. Here you can write, for example, what will happen below in your project. If you need to create a multi-line comment, then, accordingly, on each line, you write a new hash symbol. Comments are convenient because they allow us to describe a certain part of the code. And even if you forget your project and come back after a long time, with the help of comments, you would quickly understand what is happening in a specific part of your project. Therefore, do not forget about comments, but at the same time, do not write them for every line of code because it only worsens code readability. Write them meaningfully and only where you consider it necessary. Now let's talk about the print function and outputting various information to the console or terminal of our project. In the previous lesson, we already touched on this function and learned how to output something to the console, but here let's work with it a bit more. Let's assume that we not only want to output some text but also want to output a number. Suppose I want to output the number 5. Accordingly, I simply write this number here, and if I run the program now, the number 5 will be displayed on the screen. If I want to output not just the number 5 but also some text alongside it, then in that case, we should put double quotes here and write any text inside them. Let it be result. And then I can write our number 5 inside this text. In this case, it will be displayed as a string. If I run this, everything will be processed correctly. Or if we need to output a string separately and a number separately, then after the quotes, we put a comma and write any number. And if I run this again, we will see that the program was written without errors. So, you can output this on one line, or if you have multiple outputs, you can combine everything using commas. Let's output the number 15 separated by a comma and, for example, a period. If I write all this with commas, it will be processed correctly, and everything will work. And here we notice the result. A string is displayed, 2 numbers are displayed, and a period. Everything processed correctly. When outputting values, we notice that there's always a space between them. We can actually remove the space. To do this, we need to set an additional property at the end. It's called sep, short for separate. Here, we need to specify the character that will separate each element in our string. If I specify a dash here, it will mean that each element of our string will be separated by this symbol. But if I specify just an empty string here, then in this case, no spaces will be added. And if we run the program, we will see that we get one single string. Furthermore, if we try to output some other result, we will notice that the first print and the second print are displayed on different lines. If you want to output all this on one line, of course, you can just write it in one line, but besides that, you can also use an additional property called end. This property sets the end of the line. Therefore, if we write it and run the program, we will see that only one line is printed to the console. This happened because the first print function does not perform a new line, and the second print displays information in the same line. That is, with sep, we can specify the separator for values, and with end, we can specify what will be shown at the end of the line. Let's now remove the period and put an exclamation mark in the end operator. Let's run our program, and we'll see that it appeared at the end of the first line. Now let's consider what actions can be performed in the print method. In addition to outputting something, we can perform various operations. Suppose we want to add the number 5 to the number 5. If we run such an operation, we will get the number 10 printed. Similarly, we can perform subtraction, multiplication, division, and obtaining the remainder of the division. Let's also try to perform a multiplication operation. If we run such an operation, we will, of course, see the number 25. We can also perform exponentiation. To do this, we simply specify 2 multiplication symbols. Let's square the number 5. To do this, first, we write the number we want to raise to a power, then two multiplication symbols, and then the number we want to raise it to. So, if we want to square our number, we put the number 2 here. If we run this, we will again get the number 25. If we cube it, we will get the number 125, and so on. Now let's perform division. If we divide the number 5 by 3, we will see that after the decimal point, we will see a variety of different numbers. If we want to immediately round this number to an integer, then in this case, we simply use two division symbols. This type of division is called integer division. In addition to standard mathematical operations, Python also provides various functions similar to the print function that are used for mathematical operations. For instance, there is a mathematical function called min. It's a built-in function in Python that allows you to find the minimum element among other elements. Here, I can pass a set of different numbers, and this function will find the smallest element for us. We can pass both positive and negative elements here. If we run this, we will indeed see the number -3, as it is the minimum value among the others. There is also the opposite function called max, which finds the maximum value. If we run our program again, we will notice that the number 6 is output, as it is indeed the largest. Another function is abs. It finds the absolute value of a number. For example, if I input any negative number, it will always output its positive value. There is also the pow function. This function allows you to raise a number to a certain power. It's similar to what we did with two multiplication symbols, but now we'll look at another way. For example, if I want to raise the number 5 to the power of 3, first, we write the number we want to raise, then a comma, and then the power to which we will raise the number. If we run this, we will see the answer as 125. And also, besides all of this, let's learn in this lesson how to get data from the user. At the moment, we cannot interact with this data because we have not yet studied the topic of variables. But at least in this lesson, let's learn how to get data from the user, and in the next lesson, we will learn how to interact with it. For example, perform some mathematical operations or something similar. To obtain data from the user, we use a built-in function called input. So, if the print function allows us to output something to the screen, input allows us to get something from the user. If I run the program now, I will notice that the console is displayed, but the program itself did not end. It didn't end because it is now waiting for me to enter something here. And indeed, I can enter some text, a number, or anything I want, and it will all be considered as a string. But the program will only end when I press enter. After that, we see that a message appears indicating that the program has ended, and we have indeed received data from the user. For now, we cannot interact with this data because I have not placed it anywhere or stored it anywhere. This topic will be covered in the next lesson, where we will learn how to create variables and work with them. Well, during this lesson, we have become more familiar with the print method for displaying information, as well as more familiar with the input method for obtaining information from the user. In subsequent lessons, we will often work with these functions, so if something is not clear to you at the moment, don't worry because in the future, we will encounter them many more times. And even if you haven't remembered something now, don't worry, because in the next lessons, we will revisit these topics, and you will definitely remember everything easily. Our lesson has come to an end. If you enjoyed the lesson, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new lessons. Thank you all for watching. See you soon. Bye.